I feel like blockchain company or like foundations in general should making blockchain become something that people don't mention about anymore.
Exactly.
They don't really need to know the blockchain behind it.
Yes,
right?
exactly. They don't have to understand the underlying technology itself. I think for them, it's about like what benefits them.
Yeah.
So if you realize MakerDAO, the DAO behind Maker actually stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. So we are supposed to be working like in a very decentralized manner, and obviously like you find talents everywhere.
Hi guys, this is Vintam, live from Singapore, and this is the limited series from Vietnam Rising, but in Singapore. So right now I'm currently traveling in Singapore, so I thought why not making a few interview here with the talented peoples in Singapore as well. And today the first guest in this limited series is Jocelyn from MakerDAO. Hi Jocelyn, thank you for coming to the show.
Hi Tom, thanks for inviting.
Yes, I'm so excited, and thank you for coming because it's just like a short notice, but you able to make it here. But before we getting into what does make it, like getting to all the details, could you introduce what's your name as well, like what do you do at Maker?
Okay, my name is Jocelyn. I work for the Maker Foundation, and so we are the creator, and Maker Foundation is actually the creator of DAI stablecoin, which is a cryptocurrency that is pegged to a US dollar. So one DAI token equals to $1. So why do you need a stablecoin out there? Because like there's a lot of cryptocurrencies that are very volatile, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and stablecoins are there to hedge against this volatility. And my role is to build communities in the APAC region, and I also launch marketing activities in the region, and I also make sure that what we are doing is compliant with what the regulators are looking at.
So can you tell me more, like what is your role, and then what do you do exactly in Maker?
My role is I'm actually the APAC community lead from Maker Foundation, and MakerDAO is a protocol that we built. And then we are also the creator of a stablecoin called DAI. It's a decentralized stablecoin backed by crypto assets, cryptocurrency assets. So mainly, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink tokens, and a lot more others. I think there's about 18 crypto assets right now backing DAI. Yeah. So how are we different from the centralized stable coins out there? Like Tether, they are backed by fiat, which is if you go to the organization and give them a token, they are supposed to give you, $1 back in return. So you're supposed to be able to redeem the underlying value of that token with a US dollars note. But for us, it's backed by cryptocurrency. Yeah. And so my role is to build communities in the region, in the APAC region, and I also manage marketing activities in the region as well. So I do quite a bit of lobbying work. So I regularly engage with the regulators in the region just to make sure that what we are doing is compliant.
I see. But how do you measure that? Like, do you propose what you're doing and they will tell you if that's right or wrong, or how does that work?
So recently, MES, which is the Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is the Central Bank of Singapore, just they had a consultation paper where they want to invite the public for feedbacks. So what we do is that we typically actually go through a self-organized what do you call it?
Self-evaluate?
No, like a self-regulated organization, like SRO in short. Yeah. So we go through a SRO. There are two here in Singapore. There's a Blockchain Association Singapore, and then there's also another one called Access Singapore. So we typically go through SRO like this to put forth our feedback. And then the central bank will look at all these feedbacks before they incorporate into this regulatory framework. Yeah.
So basically, let me walk back a bit for the audience. For MakerDAO, is I would call it a centralized financial service provider. Yes. And and Maker actually issues their own cryptocurrency called DAI, which is equivalent mostly to the USD. Right, one DAI equal one USD.
Yes.
But the difference between DAI and other USD equivalent coin is that instead of is backing by USD, it is backed by the crypto's assets that's been locked into Maker system to create those DAI.
Yes, that's right.
And that, how does that makes the difference? Like, what is the the benefit of that comparing to having a millions of dollars of USD sitting in a bank as the currency?
So because it's backed by crypto assets and it's powered by smart contracts, it's more transparent because you can always go to a blockchain explorer on Etherscan, to look at all the transaction details. And this is what makes it different from centralized stable coin like Tether and USDC. A lot more out there because it's backed by fiat, and the fiat still sits with the bank. So if the bank actually collapses, there goes your stable coins as well. That's the key difference actually.
Oh, I see. And what has been the implementations for DAI in as a financial service provider?
You mean like
What are the case? Like how are people using? Yeah, how are people using DAI in
in real world? I mean, like we have retail investors that actually started off locking up Ethereum, which is the second biggest cryptocurrency in the entire cryptocurrency market. And they lock up Ethereum in the smart contracts. Let me just backtrack a bit. Smart contract is just literally lines of code where it self-execute when certain terms and conditions are met. At the beginning, users were actually locking up Ethereum to generate loans and DAI and use that DAI to pay for their home loans. Yeah. So why would people do that? Because, some of the people actually don't have past credit rating history. It's very difficult for them to go to the bank and ask for loans. Or if it is approved by the bank, the loan interest is very, very high. So going through MakerDAO protocol, it gives you that autonomous autonomous authority to actually process your own loans. So you can actually lock up your own assets. For example, not just crypto assets. In the very near future, you're able to actually lock up your own house as well as a collateral. If you have gold, you can do that. You tokenize gold, and then obviously not you, but you go through a company that does that for you. And then you can, if you have like stocks, you can do that as well. Just use that as collaterals and generate loans and DAI to pay off your home loans.
That's really interesting, and I want to come back to that point a little bit. So so from my understanding, makers provide an easier solutions for people who doesn't have like a credit score or like a financial history to able to access financial services like either financial loaning or maybe saving or other services as well. And the difference between Maker and the bank is that when the bank evaluate if they gonna give you a loan or not, they will look back into your history and they will be evaluate, okay, if your job is risky or not, if your profile is risky or not, and they would decide how much they would lend you and how much they would charge you as an interest rate. But for Maker, all of that is like eliminated, right?
It's not eliminated, but rather we have different risk parameters. So the risk parameters are collateralization to debt ratio, meaning I think in real world, in Singapore, we call it loan to service. So basically, if you are locking up, say, for example, Ethereum to generate DAI, if you want to generate $100 worth of DAI, you need to lock up $150 worth of Ethereum in the smart contracts itself. So the entire system is actually over collateralized. So because as you know, and cryptocurrencies are very volatile. So it can go up and down, like 20% in just one day. So we want to maintain that buffer. So 150% over collateralization, and you just have to maintain that collateralization ratio in order to have your position not to liquidate it by the protocol itself. Yeah.
But then if you, so I understand that because right now Maker is accepting cryptocurrency, right? And crypto asset basically is right now people treat it as an asset. For example, Ethereum right now is at the moment we recording this is around 1,600 USD per Ethereum.
Yeah.
And basically, if you lock that into Maker, you will get around $1,000 of DAI,
Yes.
and which is worth of $1,000 of USD.
Yeah.
And I also understand that the way it works for Maker to not require for financials history is that if assume if Ethereum price drop down to $1,000,
Yes.
then the system will automatically liquidate that amount
That's
to pay back the 1,000 DAI that has been loaned, been loaned, right?
Yeah.
But if there's a house, like if they are putting in a house or if they putting a physical asset,
A physical asset.
yeah, how do you liquidate that?
So so the thing is, the Maker Foundation, or rather the Maker protocol, doesn't actually deal with the physical asset itself. We go through a third party, an intermediary that does tokenization work. So they tokenize real world assets, creating fragmented ownerships of this house, and then put it on the blockchain, creating all these different tokens. So it's not like you will liquidate the whole house.
Yeah.
So you will liquidate a fragmented ownerships of the house itself. So for example, if your house decrease in price or because of a natural disaster, all the infrastructures around the area is being destroyed, and then the valuation of the house actually goes down. What happens is that we will basically liquidate that amount of tokens. Yeah.
But who
instead of
accept that token?
So it's an external party. It's an independent company that works alongside with Maker Protocol. So we don't take on that third party risk assessment, because there will be because different assets have different underlying risk parameters.
Yeah.
Crypto assets are generally more volatile. Obviously, the collateralization ratio it's higher, so you have to put $150 to get 100 DAI, but then maybe because house is always there, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that volatile. Maybe you just need to put like $120 worth of worth of this tokenized house tokens into the smart contract to generate $100 worth of DAI. Or rather, gold, there's a lot of there are some companies, a few companies that are digitizing gold right now. So gold, it's also pretty stable, over the years, and you don't see that kind of volatility where crypto assets are exposed to. So collateralization is also lower for that.
Digitalized gold or digitalized house, does that mean they have a storage with like a bunch of golds, and then they say that yes, they have S amount of gold?
Yes, they do actually. So it's backed by really the real gold, and the warehouse itself. So in Singapore, there's a company called DJX. They work with one of the largest gold storage warehouse. It's called Brings, I think. And they sit in the free trade zone in Singapore. So basically, if you have one DGX token, you're supposed to be able to redeem, I think, 1 gram of gold. So from them. So obviously, no one's gonna buy 1 gram, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they will buy 1 kg. And then with this token, you can go to them, and then they will give you a physical gold bar itself.
But if for example, if they have a storage of gold, and then if someone go in there and rob it, for example, right? For example, I'm just,
That's a valid question.
but if they say, okay, my DGX is backed by 100 kg of gold, and then someone go in and stole that gold, right? Then someone else coming in and like, hey, I have DGX, I want my gold now. Where do they get the gold to pay that back?
Yeah, so it's not really stored in a warehouse like what I mentioned earlier. It's stored in a vault, a bank vault.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you see the movies, right? So it potentially lower risk, but there's still risk of that, right?
Obviously, then I guess the company will have to take on that risk, paying off their customer.
Okay, so they have have to, pay by themselves.
Yeah, I mean, in the real world, I guess it's the same. If your money actually gets stolen, from point A to point B, from leaving from the bank, and I guess the bank will have to take on the responsibility.
I see. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But for Maker, then let me so I understand that Maker is trying to provide the financial inclusive for the people who around the world. Could you tell me more on what are the user case that has been happening using Maker system?
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, other than like companies using DAI as a medium of transfer, or like retail investors using generate loans and DAI, to pay off their housing loans. We have a lot of use cases that involves financial inclusion. For example, in Latin America right now, in Venezuela, Argentina, where they suffer hyperinflation. In Venezuela, the hyperinflation is about millions times. So basically, with the Venezuelan bolivar, the national currency itself, it's worthless. It means nothing. So you can actually carry a sack of like Venezuelan bolivars and go to the bakery and buy a loaf of bread. And people actually write stuff on the currency or notes itself because it's just a paper to people in Venezuela. So what happened is that cryptocurrency became a medium of exchange because it's less volatile than
Compared to that.
to their devalued currency.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are using like Bitcoin right now to just buy things in the real world.
Wow.
So same goes to DAI. We have a team in Argentina that works with partners to create that on off fiat RAM from they allow people to actually buy that using the Argentinian pesos because same thing happened to Argentina as well. The hyperinflation is about I think 50%. So 50% is actually very high. I mean here in Singapore it's about 1.9%. Not sure about Vietnam.
I think around 7%.
Yeah. So basically, if you have like money sitting in the bank, this money is gonna rot away in the bank. Yeah. So for Argentinians, same thing. They use DAI. DAI is widely adopted in Argentina, so they would rather use DAI than just using Argentinian pesos because DAI is pegged to $1, so it's almost like US dollars.
Yeah.
So basically, people would go to like a grocery store and instead of paying peso, they would pay by DAI, and the grocery themselves would accept it.
Yes, exactly. So we are working with partners right now to actually provide this point of sale system that accept cryptocurrencies, not just DAI, like it can be Bitcoin or Ethereum, but obviously DAI is less volatile because it's a stable coin pegged to $1.
Yeah.
So in Venezuela, we used to work with a company, our partner in Singapore used to work with a company where they deployed a point of sale system at one of the largest convenience stores chain in Venezuela. So basically, with a card that looks like a debit card, that physical card, and that physical card is actually preloaded with DAI. So you top up DAI. So basically, I've got Venezuelan bolivar.
Yeah.
I go to you, and then you top up. You take
DAI.
my Venezuelan bolivar, and then you top up DAI in this card, and then with this card, you can just go to the supermarket and then pay.
Yeah, so instead of bringing a bag of money, then now you can bring just like a card. I see. Wow, interesting.
So that's the real world financial inclusion use case that I see right now. But also because the political instabilities in Venezuela right now, I think we are not really doing that much in that in that country anymore. So I think a lot of the use cases it's happening in Argentina.
I see. Very interesting. So do you see similar implementations could happen in Vietnam?
I think Vietnam is not as bad as Latin America.
Yeah, for sure. Of course. I hope that we wouldn't be like that, right?
But the thing is, what I know is that there's a huge remittance business in Vietnam. So the inflows and outflows, I think, is about 16.8 billion. So I think a lot
Of import export?
no, like I think there's about there's a lot of Vietnamese working out abroad outside of Vietnam.
And
So they have to
then
remit the
send
money back home.
yeah.
They have to send the money back home.
That's
And
true.
that remittance inflow is about $17 billion. So that
true,
makes
that's true.
Vietnam the 9th biggest remittance country in the world. But the thing is, according to World Bank, the cost of remittance is actually about 6.5%, which is quite a lot. Imagine if you transfer $100, you pay like $6.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's actually quite a bit. But using cryptocurrency, not just DAI, it actually guarantees transparency. It's faster. It's cheaper as well. So this is what I see how it can be implemented in countries where like inflation rate is high and where banks generally don't give you a very high interest rates. Here in Singapore, I think savings bank account gives you like 0.05%,
Oh, wow.
which is
really?
very insignificant.
I see.
Yeah. So you can't even hedge against inflation.
True. I mean, like Vietnam giving the interest rate right now is around 6 to 7%.
Oh, okay.
So it's around just inflation rate, right? But yeah, definitely people would look into different means of investing. And one thing I've talked to a lot of friends of mine, I would notice they mention about Vietnam as a investor market where people actually have cash or money or financials mean a lot, but they don't have enough assets to put their money in. And that's where I think that's why crypto become one of the biggest Vietnam become one of the biggest market for crypto, because people look into crypto as the asset market, right? And they look in that to put their money because they actually don't trust the bank. Yeah.
That's what I heard.
I kind of heard this rumor. I don't know if it's true. Okay. Like there's a plastic surgery clinics, and it's quite big in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh. And basically, they said that the house that they do the work in, below the basement, there's a bunker full of cash, because that family basically they don't trust the bank, so they just put all their money, plastic surgery, how much of it that is just in the bunker, and they just cash sitting there.
Okay.
So I think if they find crypto or something, then it would be easier than right.
Yeah, it would be easier, but there's always there's always, like two sides of the coins, and then there's always another downside, because right now, I mean, we are still at a very nascent phase, like in terms of cryptocurrency and the underlying block technology itself, which is the blockchain.
Yeah.
So scalability is not there. If you transfer, say $10, maybe the fees is, I don't know, like $3 or $4, which is quite high, unless you're transferring, say, a huge amount of money, like I don't know, like 100,000, then it becomes insignificant. The cost of transfer. So that too, and another downside is that I mean, other than gas fees, when you send cryptocurrency, you send it to a crypto address. If you key in the wrong crypto address, your cryptocurrencies actually might get lost. So you need to have a very there's a lot of huge responsibility there for you to take care of your own wealth instead of relying on, the bank. But obviously when you depend on the bank, they charge a very high fees.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, my next question for you would be around educational, right? So we'll talk about people who able to apply financial service in their area, like inflation's countries, or countries where overseas money coming in a lot, and then they will suffer on bank fee.
Yeah.
Then but the people who need this the most, we talk about financial inclusive. We talk about like these people, they don't have the ability to loan, but now they have.
Yeah.
How do you reach them? Because those usually are the one that not very well educated or very technology savvy. How do you reach them to let them know about like Maker or like in crypto or blockchain in general?
In general, so I think right now the key challenges of the whole entire crypto industry is that we are trying to we are trying to make it as easy to understand for everyone, like the the masses, because and I mean eventually they are the ones that will be using the services, because right now the early adopters are really people who understand technology, like what you said. They are very tech savvy. They're either engineers or like they come from the financial banking. How projects these days do is that we will try to explain it like to a 5 years old. They call it Eli 5.
Yes, explain like I'm 5, right?
Like I'm 5.
Yeah.
So you explain to people like they are 5 years old. So but then again I mean like because it's a very cutting edge technology, we tend to actually add a lot of terms, like blockchain terms in it. And then people actually got lost along the way.
Dude, I can't tell you how many times I try to read a white paper and I'm like, what are these terms? I don't know. And then I have to Google every single sentence, and then I just lost it, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of terminologies that we use in the blockchain space, which doesn't match with like what the traditional financial institutions are using.
But they do use a new term. Is because it's completely different, or is there similar really where people can compare and contrast?
I think you can actually compare and contrast, but just that they use different buzzwords.
Okay. I feel like blockchain company or like foundations in general should try to work on like making blockchain become something that people don't mention about anymore.
Exactly. So that's the reason why I see a lot more applications these days. The way that they're built are very user friendly. So if you sign up to a decentralized finance app or a DeFi app, right, like or a MakerDAO app, it's just you don't even know that most of the time you don't even know that you're actually dealing with cryptocurrencies, because it's just like maybe generating loans against the assets, I don't know, maybe houses or something like that. Maybe that's not a good example, but I think what I was trying to say is that there is a lot of companies that are trying to enhance the user interface, and like you said, just make it less blockchain.
I mean, like if people want to use like a bank, like a card that is no, basically if people want to send money from Singapore to Vietnam, and they basically, you can easily say, if you use this channel or service, you spend $3 on this transaction fee instead of $10 on transaction fees monthly. That's it, and then people just get it. They don't really need to know the blockchain behind it.
Right? Exactly. They don't have to understand the underlying technology itself. I think for them, it's about like what benefits them.
Yeah, but why does the community still so hype or still really focus on the technology marketing itself? Do you know why?
I think mainly because it's a very tech focused, very high tech focused industry, because I think 90% of the people working for say MakerDAO is actually all engineers, and they're not a lot of marketing people.
I mean, they have you.
I think so they have like 5-6 marketing people, and then branding, even trying to make things translation and stuff like that. I mean, they're just not too many people that focus on it. So it's a very heavy tech focused industry. So I think that's the reason. This is the core reason why it's still very I mean, the entire concept is still very difficult for people to understand.
Yeah, I for sure would agree. So the team Maker right now actually is remote, like all over the world right now. Are you?
Yeah, so we are a company of about 100 people. We have teams, sitting all over the world, like working remotely with one. We have a couple of people in Argentina, and then we're headquartered in Denmark. The founder actually sits in Copenhagen, and then we have Steven, the COO, sits in West Coast in US, and then we have a BD team, business development team that sits in New York. And
but why is the scattered, like locations? Like, is there a reason for it?
Yeah, so if you realize MakerDAO, the DAO behind Maker actually stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. So we are supposed to be working like in a very decentralized manner. And obviously, you know, I mean, like you find talents everywhere as well. And yeah.
So basically, you guys have always been adopting working remotely since the beginning.
Yeah,
it's not like because the pandemic and you have to do that, right?
Yeah, that's right. So everyone was actually working remotely, like even before the pandemic actually.
I see. Did you see any pickup of transaction or like during the pandemic? Because I feel like last year, like 2020, people started looking into blockchain more. I'm not sure if the technology is also the same, but then the asset side wise, right? People started looking at it as like the means to put their assets away from volatility from the war, which is like so crazy.
Because as everyone knows, US has been printing a lot of money. So, and when that happens, US dollars, the currency itself, will actually devalue over time. So it would depreciate, and it actually happened. I think I was just trying to actually compare US dollars to Sing dollars. It used to be $1 to 1.43, and then now it's 1.33. That's like 10 cents difference, right? So that's a big. Oh. That's a big depreciation there, and obviously people actually start to have a lot more free time during pandemic. They start to read more about what is blockchain, and then they started looking at cryptocurrencies as an alternative investment, like what you said. Yes, and we actually did see a very huge jump in terms of DAI transactions. So the amount of loans that people generated over since mid last year to this year. So we are a decentralized finance protocol. So the entire decentralized finance space actually grew by 30 times. So last year last year in June, the total value locked in the entire ecosystem, the DeFi ecosystem, was about $1 billion. Wow. And today, when I just checked, it was like 30 billion. So it actually grew 30 times.
Wow.
So meaning that there are also a lot more new users that come on board into DeFi space. And not to forget, DeFi space is only 1% or 1.5% of the entire cryptocurrency market space.
I see.
Yeah. So we do see a huge jump, and I do have friends working for the trading, cryptocurrencies exchanges, and they couldn't cope with people opening like accounts, and not just cryptocurrency. I think it happens to
technology in general, right?
No, like trading exchanges, securities trading exchanges.
That people start looking into it too much
to put their money away. I mean, just to hedge against inflation. Find a safe haven to park their money.
I see. Wow. But that's interesting to see. What would be your personal advice for people who start learning about blockchain or about Maker, about financial leverage in general? What would be your advice to them when they starting to look into this field?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I used to actually work for the bank, but I've been always in sales. I was never an economist. So it actually took me a while to really understand what MakerDAO or rather the protocol is doing, because I have no economics background at all. So and I think if you really want to start using cryptocurrency platform or start trading cryptocurrency, you have to invest into something that you understand, obviously, and not use too much leverage.
That's just crazy for me, because I tried before once, right? I remember that. So like in the crypto services or like the decentralized financial service, there's one called leverage, right? Basically, is that you have one ETH, but you want to leverage to buy 3 more. Basically, you will lock into loan, and then the exchange platform will lend you the money to buy 3 more, and then you will wait for the price to go up and or down. Like usually go down, right? So wait, go up or down? Go up.
Go up.
Yeah, so you wait for the price to go up, for example, 1,000 to 160, and then you sell that 3 ETH, and then you keep the difference. That's yours. But the problem with that is that the market is very volatile. So then if it go down instead of going up, the system immediately liquidate your own asset, like immediately, and then you basically lost everything. You know.
I tried that once before, but not with leverage, but another platform. So I mean, like I figured that it wasn't really my sort of risk appetite. I just tried and then I stopped using it. So, but just be mindful that if you're leveraging cryptocurrencies, it's still a very, very risky business that we're talking about here because it's very, very volatile.
That's true. But how about for people who actually using the service, the blockchain itself? Any kind of like things that you need to be mindful of?
I think I talk about scalability. We are, I mean, again, at the very beginning, it's like, like 20, 30 years ago before, the internet era started. There's this TCP/IP protocol. No one could understand what was it, and actually it took like I don't know, at least a decade for people to really understand what was internet. And then Jack Ma, Alibaba's founder, I actually watched a documentary. He actually went all the way to US. He wanted to bring home internet to China, but then Chinese government wasn't really interested, or rather they don't understand what was the underlying technology what was internet was at that point of time. So I think we are in a very similar phase right now. So I think it takes a while for people to really understand the technology.
But I'm assuming must be very exciting for you to actually switching from bank background into crypto technology, right?
I mean, it's actually pretty challenging because, I used to also found a social networking app. So I sort of like work in the tech startup space before. So, and so I picked up a lot of, like code, a lot of different skill sets. Not coding. I still don't like coding, so I actually know how to read like code architecture. So just to see if the codes are being the lines of codes are being coded in a very efficient manner. So I picked up some of that when I was working on this social networking app project, and then when I switched over to blockchain, it was a little bit difficult. I mean, I actually spent quite a bit of time just understanding what was blockchain. I attended blockchain courses even before I joined MakerDAO. I spent like 3 to 6 months really understanding the economics principle behind MakerDAO protocol itself. I mean, it took me quite a while. It was very challenging for me.
Was there any kind of like impossible challenge you were like you were assigned to when you working with Maker?
I think the impossible challenge is to build communities, right? And the thing is, I mean, building communities is not for everyone, because if you hire someone like a marketing, chief executive from a traditional company, they typically would just go out there and pay for earned media, and then like maybe run a guerrilla marketing campaign, and then maybe have an advertisements on the bus or taxis or something like that. It doesn't work that way for all the projects in blockchain or crypto space, because it's not a product that you can sell. It's very much about education. So I did a lot of education. I run a lot of educational campaigns, even like community events, just to explain what is MakerDAO to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of educational things you have to put into, right? But what would be your your achievement story from like those community building? Was there any significant person that has been in the community, learn about Maker, and then eventually contribute a lot into the growth of Maker?
Yes. So I have a colleague that actually joined MakerDAO, the Maker Foundation, because I think I was at a conference, and I was at a conference. I was at a conference presenting about Maker Protocol, and she learned about Maker Protocol, and then she joined the project. So same goes to me. I actually learned about Maker Protocol because my China community lead actually came to Singapore, and then he was presenting at a meetup event, and then I found that very, very, very fascinating, and then I started going home just reading about the white paper. It took me a while to understand, and then that because of that actually just yeah.
I see. I understand. It's really fascinating, right? Well, for me, I'm not in blockchain, but for example, I'm doing podcasts as well. Like when I'm doing this, mostly I'm feeling like I'm just sharing my journey and learning things like from people like you to people out there who interested in listening to it. But sometimes when we get like my assistant actually joined the team after like 6 months or something, I'm working on it, and then one day he's like, "Hey, I know your podcast, hey, and I like it a lot, but I think we can do some improvement, and how can I help?" And then that's how we start picking up and do more work together. So I think definitely the sense of community is very important, especially when you're starting up something very new that people don't know yet, right?
Yes, that's true. And also, the entire sharing economy is actually moving away from user-generated contents to user-generated capital. So meaning that right now there is even like a social capital or currency that you can build as an influencer. So for example, if you're a blogger, you can actually create your own currency so that you can reward the early joiners or subscribers on your channel.
Okay.
So you don't have to go through like, say, for example, the big social media channels like YouTube or
But why? How do you reward them?
You actually reward them with your own tokens.
Elaborate me.
Yeah, like for example, like you call it Rising Vietnam token.
Okay.
So if someone were to tune into your channel, and watch all your podcasts, and you get them like 10 tokens. So basically it's creating this supply and demand within your own ecosystem. But obviously with this token that you get, right, you can also spend it somewhere else.
Okay. He has to. That's why I'm kind of like confused, because like if I'm giving out a token that only me recognize it, then what's the point,
Exactly. So obviously other ecosystems will have to recognize it as well. And I mean, like even today, you can actually swap your cryptocurrency from one to another, Bitcoin to Ethereum to DAI, or DAI to like some other cryptocurrencies, and that's possible actually in today's blockchain or cryptocurrency world. So why is people moving away from user generated contents? Because creators are no longer being rewarded as much unless you have like a big user base of like I don't know, like 1 million subscribers. So but then how many YouTubers are like that? So but I think for this what I call it revolution, like it's influencers will be able to actually generate their own capital to reward early joiners.
And are you a believer of a small but strong community, or like a bigger, broader community, or bigger like consumer, the market in general, but not very but like very few little core members.
So I believe in quality, not just community building, even friendships. Quality is very important. So I've seen like projects, some of the projects going out there and acquiring user base from another community, but they don't really understand the project. So our social channels, Telegram group grows organically. So people who really want to learn about MakerDAO, they will just join Maker, and then there will be people there hand holding them, guiding, sending them information and resources.
I see.
Yeah.
So you think that people who like willing to learn and willing to join in the community and really experience it are people much stronger, and you would prefer that for Maker as well.
I would prefer organic growth in terms of community building.
And I think that for makers that getting the community where they actually implement the service or the system itself actually more valuable than just like, oh, hey, this is a great project, you should invest in it or whatever, right? Like if there's people actually using Maker or Die to sustain their life, or like building accepting that into their own ecosystem, that is just much more valuable for you.
Yeah, sharing use cases with community is very important so that they know what they can do with DAI. And then obviously, finding distribution channels to grow that DAI supply, it's also very important. So we work with a lot of partners. They integrate DAI to their applications, and up to, I think today, we have about 800 applications that integrated DAI, including exchanges, and obviously this global supply chain.
Were there any like projects that makes you like, whoa, this is so creative, or so like groundbreaking?
Oh, groundbreaking.
I think. Let me think. Wow.
So many. That's why.
They're very, very. There are a lot of interesting ones. There is one that I particularly like a lot. Like it's called Pull Together. So it's not like it's like a gambling app. It's not really a gambling app. Sorry, correct. Let me correct myself. So basically, what you do is that you deposit your DAI in this pool on this protocol, and then same goes to everyone. And I think at end of every month or end of every 2 weeks, they will announce a winner. So basically, because this pool, right, actually integrates another DeFi platform also to generate interest. So basically, while everyone was staking or depositing this DAI, our DAI stable coin, it actually accrues interest along the way. So, and this winner will actually walk away with that pool of DAI plus the interest.
Oh, so it's like a lottery, basically.
It's almost like a lottery, but the thing is, the loser, right, also gets to walk back with their own DAI.
Oh, okay, so they still get their DAI back. They
don't lose it. Yeah.
Wait, I don't get it. So
the winner actually walks away with the DAI and that accrued interest. He's the DAI that he pulled, that he staked.
Oh, okay, so his own DAI, not like okay. So basically his own DAI, and then the interest. Okay, I thought that he got
Oh no, not everything. I mean, yeah.
Wow.
And then obviously the one didn't win will still walk away with their own DAI. So like it's not really a gambling app, because like it motivates savings. It motivates you to save.
Well, yes, but it's still require like luck to get that interest rate, right? Interesting. Well, I mean, I feel like in Vietnam there so many projects, like financial projects or asset or whatever, that people really need place to invest in. But the problem is in Vietnam, there's so many scam. Yeah, so like so many scam. Like recently we have scam in real estate, we have scam in like Ponzi scheme in real estate, and in different stuff that people lose millions of dollars in it. And it makes them really, really not trusting the new financial service coming in,
Yeah.
And then it's become it's very hard to persuade the investor to actually put money in because they just not have enough education on investing itself.
Yeah.
Because in Vietnam, I feel like it's the sense of community of like, hey, I have this uncle who make a lot of money from this project, so I'm gonna just put the money in without doing any research on actual how do they make the money to give back to you, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like crypto is kind of like people kind of seem it like that too, so people still kind of tiptoe around it a lot.
Yeah, so the narrative has actually changed a lot over the years. 3-4 years ago, like even the media actually portrayed cryptocurrencies as in a very negative negative side. Like, like sometimes when you watch a Netflix show, they will say that, hey, you use Bitcoin, you transfer Bitcoin, like for money laundering purpose. But that's not all about that. I mean, there's a lot more benefits to Bitcoin itself because it uses blockchain, and blockchain inherently it is open and transparent because whatever transaction that takes place, it's being tracked on the blockchain. You can always go to Blockchain Explorer and look at like not who sent to who, but rather the transaction records itself. So, and regulators are definitely catching up, especially here in Singapore. The Central Bank of Singapore are very, very very caught up with what is.
I mean, Singapore is one of the like leading country that's like really trying to adapt blockchain in it, right?
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't surprise that the Central Bank of Singapore are able to caught up on that. I think in Vietnam, I think just a few months ago in December or something, they have a blockchain conference, like a really big one in Hanoi, and I think they were like also trying to push this one of the initiative for this year as well. So really, really interesting to see how that is. But I feel like in Vietnam, it's gonna be so hard for implementations of technology in general. It's not just blockchain, but from my experience in working with a traditional industry and trying to adapt new technology on it, like the resistance in Vietnam is really, really high. For example, so my company, we do logistics software. We do very simple software, basically a management software, right? Instead of using Excel or Word to work, you work on that. Very simple, but it takes us such a long time for people to actually get used to using it, because the generations that still in work, like the boomer generation and everything, they really were just like, they don't want to change. They basically they just refuse to use new technology. And I feel like unless that generations is gonna retire completely, and then the new generations around like 40ish or 50ish around that start taking over, then I think that's when the tech industry is gonna really boom.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's just Vietnam though. Like here, even in Singapore, right?
Singapore's so fast in everything.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go to the bank, the system is actually still quite they're still using a very old legacy system.
Okay.
Yeah, like they know your customer tool. They have been using it for like, I don't know, two decades or 30
KYC,
2-3
right?
decades. So it's like one black screen with like green fonts and stuff like that. Running on DOS operating system. So those are very old school. I mean, like I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of new technological solutions.
But then the adaptation is much faster.
Adaptation is faster. I think it also depends on the industry. So, for example, I used to also work for a building and construction industry. So they in building and construction is very similar to logistics and supply chain.
Yeah.
So most of the people have been around for like 30-40 years. They work for the same company for like that many years, and they refuse changes. So it's very difficult to get them to actually start using software.
Yeah, but I'm sure it must be so exciting for you to actually work in this kind of like, I would call it impossible like projects, because it's like, would you ever imagine like you yourself like 3 years ago, if someone tell you that you're gonna work on providing financial inclusive services for people around the world, would you think that you would do something like that?
Would I? 3 years ago, yes, because that was when I.
Oh, okay. So sorry. Then 5 years ago. My bad.
5 years ago, maybe not. Like, so 3 years ago, I think I was at my, my crossroad thinking about, what should I do in life. I dabbled into like different spaces. I started my own startup, that didn't fly. And then I was also taking on a project, integrating a public warning system for Ministry of Home Affairs here in Singapore. So I was the on the ground project manager, which I picked up a lot of, again, technological buzzwords, and then and back in 2017, I learned about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency back in 2013 when I was still in the startup space. So in 2017, I started, reading more about, white papers, and then I read about, obviously the first white paper that everyone read from the space is Satoshi Nakamoto Bitcoin paper, that says that Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer cash systems that powered by people and without intermediaries, and I was immediately actually drawn to the whole Bitcoin cryptocurrency concept. So it's about decentralization, power, giving power back to the people, and I started reading a lot more papers, and then which also sort of like led me down, the whole rabbit hole of discovering Ethereum and a lot more other projects in the space, and then that's when I realized that, oh hey, like blockchain, it's gonna be game changing. So that was also when I started like joining or going into the industry like full time.
I see. And you decided to go in because you see that this is the game-changing technology, and you would want to be a part of it.
And I would really want to be a part of it. And again, I think I was lucky. I was lucky to actually find MakerDAO, the project itself, to work for, and because the mission of MakerDAO protocol is to build a universal, unbiased currency for everyone to have access to. So if you're from Latin America, if you don't trust your own country currencies or banks, you can, there's something for you to actually fall back on, like, cryptocurrencies, and it's entirely backed by, assets. It's not like, US dollars. It's just pure faith in, the government itself. So it's not, US dollars is not backed by anything but faith. So, but at least, DAI is backed by real assets. I wouldn't say real world assets because they're cryptocurrencies, but at least there's something there backing it.
I think the last question I would want to know is that for this exciting new industry, what would you see is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years?
I'm actually very bullish about decentralized finance as a whole, because we are, for all the projects working within the space, we are all trying to actually provide that equal access to basic financial services where a lot of people actually don't get from a lot of different from a lot of countries. For example, like in Pakistan, what I learned is that females or women, in a household, they don't get to actually set up a bank account, so they have to go through their brother or their father to actually help set up a bank account. But because decentralized finance protocols actually built on the blockchain, right, or you can just download the app, or you can actually access it, from the browser anywhere you are, regardless who you are, where you're from, how much money you have. Even if you have no credit rating history, you can still have equal access to this basic financial services of lending and borrowing, getting insurance. So I think that is going to be very, very big. So I also read an article about how DeFi is going to be a self-driving bank, like an autonomous vehicle where it can self-drive itself. So DeFi protocol is going to become like that too. So, and then when that happens, there will be different sets of regulations. Regulator will come in and regulate DeFi in a very different way. For autonomous policies or driving land transport policies, as we call it here in Singapore. They have regulations to actually protect the drivers against, or protect people against dangerous drivers, but not the car itself, because the car itself is never dangerous. It's a tool, right? So I think similar regulatory policy will be put in place to protect retail investors against bad players or bad sheeps in the space. Yeah, so I think it's going to be big when there is a regulation regulating all these different cryptocurrency projects. That's when we see that people will start adopting and trusting cryptocurrency blockchain protocols or cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, and that would I think that's really exciting because for an new industry right now, I feel like there's so much creativity in the space itself, like things, the new concept that blockchain has introduced to the world that has never been thought of is really groundbreaking. And I think that to able to see you or like other talented people are working to the same goal is actually really, really exciting. So I hope that Maker and of course you as well, like gonna have like go get to all your missions and your goal, because I really think you guys are really one of the oldest blockchain projects, right? And you still there and providing billions of dollars and so much values to people all around the world. So thank you for coming to Vietnam Rising again. Very excited to have you here. And for the audience, if you like this episode, please make sure to let us know. And for those that would like to learn more about MakerDAO or reach out to Jocelyn, how do they reach you?
You can go to MakerDAO.com. MakerDAO.com. And then we have a lot of different blog articles there. We are trying to actually localize the content as well, translating it into Vietnamese. For now, they're all in English, but hopefully they'll be in Vietnamese soon. And then, or you can just reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn.
What's your LinkedIn or Twitter?
LinkedIn, Twitter, I think both the username are Jocelyn Chang. So Jocelyn, Chang.
Oh, right. Or maybe Jocelyn and then search MakerDAO and you will find her as well.
Too,
All right. Thank you guys again for tuning in. And if you like this episode, make sure to let us know. At Vietnam Rising Podcast, we all have all our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Let me know what you thought on this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys.
Thank you so much. Oh my God. You were great.
You are the best. You are the best. I mean, you're by far the best.